Teacher Talking Sports, what it does, would do how we living with week one in the books. Congratulations. If you survived in your survivor pool, the majority of people did, as many of the bigger favorites came out on top. I took the Broncos, so I'm moving on as well. So let's take a look at the week two schedule, see who the best teams to take are. We'll look at the survivor grid, and I will tell you my final pick at the end. I always look at the schedule and basically decide even before I look at the survivor grid, but I know some people like looking at it. But let's get into it. Let's look at the schedule, starting with Thursday night games. Washington at Green Bay. Both teams with wins in their first game. Washington didn't look great, but they played a fairly miserable New York Giants team, and man, Micah Parsons only played, I believe, 29 snaps, but made such an impact in them in their win over the Lions. But tough game to pick because Jaden Daniels could have a dominant performance. Jacksonville at Cincinnati. I think I was higher on Jacksonville than most people heading into the season. If you took Cincinnati last week, you barely survived, and they knocked out a lot of people in week one last year when they lost to the New England Patriots. So always a slow starting team, so that's a difficult one where to take the Bengals. I'm a Giants fan, and I'm admitting that I highly considered taking the Cowboys. I'm not going to, but this is definitely a good spot to take them. Russell Wilson will start again, so, there's no Jackson Dart sparking the entire offense, although I guess there's a possibility he could be subbed in later in the game. But Dallas performed fairly well, probably better than expected against the Eagles. Wasn't for, Miles Sanders' fumble, a couple CeeDee Lamb drops, they could have beaten the defending Super Bowl champs. Chicago at Detroit. Man, does Detroit have to rebound? Or, they start 0-2. Everyone's going to be talking about how, I guess, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were more of the reason why the Lions were so good. Bears coming off a game where they absolutely should have won but did not on Monday Night Football against the Vikings. Some people might be taking Detroit. Not a bad pick. I don't see him falling 0-2. But yeah, Ben Johnson against his former team. There's, motivation there. Rams at Titans. I went against the Titans last week. I rarely take road teams, me personally. But, the Rams might be a good one to take. Although the Titans, really stayed in the game against Denver. They actually held the lead, I believe, on 3 separate occasions before the Broncos won by 8. New England at Miami. How can you touch that one? Miami looked like arguably the worst team in the NFL, at least for week one. New England, disappointing loss at home to the Raiders. 49ers at Saints, another road team that many people might be considering taking in the 49ers. Problem is, we not quite sure if Brock Purdy's going to play. If not, Mac Jones will be starting. George Kittle was placed on the IR. Juwan Jennings could be out, so they're going to be shorthanded on offense. Kendrick Bourne was just brought back to the team. Bills at Jets. Again, a lot of the teams that seem like clear favorites are on the road. Jets actually performed better than most people expected, at least on offense. But in the end, Aaron Rodgers' 4 touchdown passes and Chris Boswell's 60-yard field goal did them in. But I'm definitely expecting the Bills to win. But they're not my pick either. Seattle at Pittsburgh. Very tough game to choose. That's one of the tighter games in my eyes. I wouldn't even look to touch that. Can Aaron Rodgers have back-to-back solid, excellent performances, and Sam Darnold went scoreless through the air in their week one loss to the 49ers. Cleveland at Baltimore. Cleveland played admirably in week one. If it wasn't for their rookie kicker, they probably would have beaten the Bengals, and we know as much as the Bears blew their week one game on Monday night, the Ravens did even more so on Sunday night. 15-point lead with less than 5 minutes to go. Oh man, you gotta think they rebound and win that game. Denver at Indianapolis. I mean, Daniel Jones is going from a Miami team that looked like they had the worst cornerback room to a Broncos team that might have the best cornerback room and maybe the best defense in the NFL. So we'll see if that Danny Dimes redemption story continues against an excellent defense. But again, Denver on the road, and I took them. But I wasn't going to take Indianapolis. Carolina at Arizona. Arizona didn't look great in their Week 1 win against the Saints. Meanwhile, Bryce Young, we heard all that momentum he built to end last season. And started off with a dud in Week 1 against the Jaguars. Maybe some people are taking the Cardinals. I mean, you can't touch this one. Philly at KC. I know KC's losing a lot of their weapons on offense. Of course, Rashee Rice is suspended. Now, Xavier Worthy has a dislocated shoulder, I believe. So Hollywood Brown's going to be that number one, and we know he doesn't always stay healthy. The defense didn't look great against the Chargers. Eagles, we know Jalen Carter will not be suspended, so that's big news for them. Atlanta at Minnesota. Minnesota coming off that nice comeback win. Falcons had a chance to send the game in overtime against the Buccaneers, but Younghoe missed a 44-yard field goal. Vikings, I think, are going to win. Not confident enough to take them. And we got 2 Monday night games this week, starting with Tampa Bay at Houston. CJ Stroud continued to look fairly average since his rookie year. Only scored 9 points against the Rams. Buccaneers wasn't Baker Mayfield's greatest game, but it was good enough. But again, Tampa on the road. And then Chargers at Raiders. Both teams 1-0. A 2-0 start in the AFC West definitely keeps your playoff hopes going early on in the season. Now let's look at the Survivor pick grid. So we see if we go by pick percentage. Scroll up. The Baltimore Ravens, 28.8% are taking them. Then we got Dallas, 13%. Rams, 11.8%. Arizona, 11.2%. Niners, 9.2%. And Bills, 6.2%. Those are the 6 largest. Then it goes down quite a bit after that. I mean, personally, I'm someone who really looks to just advance. I'm not exactly looking at the future schedule. I mean, you look at the Ravens, a couple big spreads later on in the season, but you don't want to hold off too long with them. As much as I thought about going against my Giants, I'm going to go with Baltimore. I don't always necessarily like going with the biggest chalk, but first thing I do is look at the schedule, even before I look at the Survivor grid, and really make my choice. So yes, I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. Let me know in the comments who you are taking in Week 2 Survivor, who you took in Week 1 to advance. Anyhow, don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.